It was an ordinary day, just like any other. People woke up to the sound of alarms, brewed their morning coffee, and scrolled through their phones while eating breakfast. Children rushed to school, cars honked in traffic, and office workers tapped away at keyboards. In cities around the world, life moved forward as it always did, predictable, mundane, and safe. No one could have imagined that by nightfall, everything they thought they knew about their place in the universe would change forever. As the sun dipped below the horizon, darkness began to blanket the earth. Stars appeared one by one, twinkling faintly against the velvet sky. It was a peaceful moment, the kind that made people pause to appreciate nature's beauty. But then something strange happened. A low rumble echoed across the planet. Not loud enough to shatter windows, but deep enough to make hearts race. Dogs barked wildly, birds took flight from trees, and animals everywhere seemed to sense that something was wrong. At first, no one paid much attention. After all, strange noises weren't uncommon. Maybe it was thunder, or perhaps an earthquake, far offshore. But when the sky itself started to shift, panic set in. High above the ground, a jagged line appeared, glowing with an eerie blue light. It looked almost like a crack spreading across glass, except this wasn't glass. It was the very fabric of the heavens. The line grew wider and brighter, pulsating with energy. People stopped what they were doing to stare upward. Parents pulled their children close. Tourists snapped photos, and scientists scrambled to understand what was happening. Social media erupted with videos and theories. Some claimed it was a government experiment gone wrong. Others said it was proof of divine intervention. A few even joked that aliens were finally here to abduct them. Little did they know how right they were. From the glowing rift came shapes, dark silhouettes that blocked out the stars. At first glance, they looked like clouds, but clouds didn't hover motionless in the air. As the silhouettes descended, lower, details became clearer. They were ships, massive, angular vessels unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Each ship was enormous, easily dwarfing skyscrapers and aircraft carriers. Their surfaces gleamed with metallic armor, and strange symbols glowed along their hulls. Weapons protruded from their sides, and lights blinked rhythmically, casting an alien glow over the landscape. Fear spread like wildfire. Cities fell silent as millions of eyes turned skyward, watching in stunned disbelief. Governments issued emergency alerts, urging citizens to stay indoors and remain calm. Military forces mobilized scrambling jets and activating missile defense systems. Yet, for all their preparation, no one fired a single shot. The alien ship simply hung there, immobile and silent as if studying the planet below. What made the situation even stranger was that none of the ships attacked. There were no laser beams raining down destruction, no bombs leveling cities. Instead, they seemed hesitant, almost cautious. For hours they remained suspended in the air, their presence both awe-inspiring and terrifying. Were they waiting for something? Or someone? Meanwhile, ordinary people tried to make sense of what was happening. Families huddled together in living rooms, glued to news broadcasts. Conspiracy theorists shouted into webcams, claiming this was the end of the world. Religious leaders called for prayer, while skeptics demanded evidence. Despite the chaos, one question lingered in everyone's mind. Why were these ships here? And more importantly, what did they want? Unbeknownst to the terrified masses, the truth was far more complicated, and far more astonishing than anyone could have guessed. While the aliens loomed overhead, humanity's greatest secret was about to be unveiled. Buried beneath mountains, hidden in bunkers and orbiting silently beyond the moon, lay the culmination of decades of effort, sacrifice, and ingenuity. Humanity had prepared for this moment without knowing it would ever come. Now, as the fate of the planet hung in the balance, the time had arrived to reveal their hand. But before that could happen, the world needed answers. Who were these visitors? What was their purpose? And why had they chosen now to appear? The answers would come soon enough, but not from the aliens. Instead, they would emerge from within humanity itself, proving once and for all that even the smallest species could rise to meet the greatest challenges. For now, though, the sky remained cracked open, and the mysterious ships continued to hover, ominously above. The stage was set, and the entire planet held its breath, waiting to see what would happen next. Whatever it was, nothing would ever be the same again. While the world stood frozen in awe and terror, staring up at the alien ships that dominated the skies, something extraordinary was happening far from public view. Beneath mountains, deep within fortified bunkers and hidden in classified facilities, scattered across the globe, humanity's leaders were already working on a response. These weren't ordinary meetings. This wasn't about issuing press statements or debating evacuation plans. This was something much bigger, something decades in the making. What no one outside those secure rooms realized was that humanity had been preparing for this moment long before the first alien ship appeared. The story began during the Cold War, a time when fear of nuclear annihilation gripped the planet. Back then, governments around the world had poured billions into defense projects, racing to build weapons capable of deterring attacks from rival nations. But as tensions eased and the threat of global war diminished, some forward-thinking scientists and military strategists turned their attention to a new kind of danger, one that hadn't yet materialized but loomed large in the collective imagination: extraterrestrial invasion. At first, the idea seemed absurd. Aliens, space battles. It sounded like science fiction, not serious policy. Yet, as technology advanced and humanity ventured further into space, the possibility became harder to ignore. If life existed elsewhere in the universe, and evidence suggested it likely did, then Earth needed to be ready. Thus, in the late 1980s, a top-secret initiative known only as Project Ascension was born. What made Project Ascension unique was its scale and ambition. Unlike traditional military programs focused on incremental improvements, Ascension aimed to leapfrog centuries of technological development. Its goal was nothing less than creating humanity's own fleet of interstellar warships, vessels powerful enough to protect Earth from any potential threat, whether terrestrial or cosmic. To achieve this, governments pooled resources, sharing cutting-edge research and pooling funding from dozens of countries. Scientists, engineers, and even private corporations worked together under strict confidentiality agreements, their efforts shielded from public scrutiny. For years, progress was slow. Early prototypes failed spectacularly, consuming vast amounts of money and resources without producing usable results. Critics dismissed the project as a waste of time and taxpayer dollars. Even supporters wondered if they were chasing an impossible dream. But bit by bit, breakthroughs began to emerge. Advances in quantum computing allowed for faster processing speeds, enabling simulations of complex spacecraft designs. Breakthroughs in materials science yielded lightweight, yet incredibly strong alloys, perfect for constructing hulls capable of withstanding the rigors of space travel. And perhaps most importantly, researchers developed experimental zero-point energy reactors, devices capable of generating virtually limitless power. By the early 21st century, Project Ascension had produced its crowning achievement, the Erebus-class Star Destroyer. Named after the Greek god of darkness, these ships were unlike anything ever built. Each Erebus destroyer stretched over 3 kilometers in length, towering over skyscrapers and dwarfing even the largest aircraft carriers. Their sleek angular design minimized drag while maximizing durability, and their surfaces were coated with heat-resistant materials that could withstand re-entry into planetary atmospheres. Inside, state-of-the-art systems controlled everything, from navigation to weapons deployment, all overseen by advanced artificial intelligence designed to anticipate threats and respond instantly. But what truly set the Erebus destroyers apart was their weaponry. Plasma cannons mounted along their spines could fire bolts of superheated energy, capable of vaporizing entire cities. Energy shields surrounded the ships, deflecting incoming projectiles and rendering them nearly invulnerable. And tucked away in their cores were experimental warp drives, allowing them to traverse vast distances in the blink of an eye. In short, these ships weren't just tools, they were symbols of humanity's determination to survive against all odds. Despite their incredible capabilities, however, the Erebus destroyers remained shrouded in secrecy. Only 3 existed, each stored in orbital dry docks located far beyond the moon's orbit. There, they floated silently, awaiting activation, should the need arise. Activating them required unanimous consent from every participating nation, a safeguard put in place to prevent misuse. For decades, they remained dormant, their existence known only to a handful of people at the highest levels of government. Now, as alien ships hovered ominously above Earth, those same leaders convened in emergency sessions. Panic gripped the room as reports poured in from around the world. Cities were paralyzed. Economies teetered on the brink of collapse, and social order threatened to unravel. Some argued for immediate action, urging the deployment of nuclear missiles or other conventional weapons. Others cautioned restraint, fearing retaliation from a superior force. The debate raged on for hours, voices rising and tempers flaring. Finally, a decision was reached. Humanity would unveil its secret weapon, not out of aggression, but as a show of strength. If the aliens intended to invade, they would find themselves facing resistance unlike anything they'd encountered before. With trembling hands, the necessary codes were entered, and the activation sequence initiated. Deep in space, the Erebus destroyers powered up for the first time in history. As the countdown neared its end, tension filled the air. Would the aliens see this as a declaration of war? Or would they retreat, realizing they had underestimated their target? No one knew for sure. All they could do was wait, and hope that humanity's gamble would pay off. When the moment came, the result was nothing short of breathtaking. From their hidden positions beyond the moon, the Erebus destroyers roared to life. Blue-white engines ignited, bathing the surrounding void in radiant light. One by one they emerged from hiding, their massive forms cutting through the darkness, like blades. As they approached Earth, their sheer size and power left observers speechless. Even the alien ships, which had seemed so imposing just moments earlier, now appeared small and insignificant in comparison. For the first time in recorded history, humanity stood on equal footing with beings from another world. But this wasn't just about equality, it was about dominance. The message was clear. Earth was no longer defenseless. If the aliens wanted a fight, they would get one, and humanity was ready. Yet, as the Erebus destroyers took their positions, between the invaders and the planet, questions lingered. How would the aliens react? Would they attack, risking mutual destruction, or would they back down, acknowledging humanity's newfound strength? The answers would come soon enough, but not without consequences. For better or worse, the stage was set for a confrontation that would redefine Earth's place in the cosmos forever. The moment humanity had been waiting for arrived with a deafening roar that echoed through the atmosphere. The 3 Erebus-class star destroyers descended from their orbital dry docks, slicing through the void between Earth and the moon like titans returning home. Their engines burned bright blue, illuminating the night sky as if a second sun had risen. To anyone watching below, it was both terrifying and awe-inspiring. A spectacle unlike anything ever witnessed in human history. For centuries, people had dreamed of seeing spaceships capable of protecting Earth from extraterrestrial threats. Now those dreams were becoming reality. As the massive vessels approached, they positioned themselves strategically between the alien ships and the planet. Each Erebus destroyer loomed over the invaders, dwarfing them in size and radiating an aura of raw power. The aliens, who had remained eerily silent until now, finally reacted, but not in the way anyone expected. Instead of launching an attack or attempting to communicate further, their ships began retreating toward the rift in the sky. It was as though the mere sight of humanity's fleet had struck fear into their very core. On Earth, confusion rippled through governments, military command centers, and living rooms alike. Why were the aliens pulling back? Had they underestimated humanity's capabilities? Or was this some kind of trick, a ploy to lull Earth into a false sense of security before striking? No one knew for sure, But one thing was certain. The sudden retreat of the alien ships marked a turning point in what had seemed like an inevitable invasion. Before the invaders could disappear completely into the glowing rift, one of their ships emitted a low-frequency hum that resonated across the globe. Every electronic device buzzed with static, and then a voice, calm, mechanical, and slightly distorted, spoke in perfect English. "We are the Vorthax Collective. We come seeking dominion." The announcement sent shockwaves through humanity. Dominion? What did they mean by that? Were they here to conquer Earth? Enslave its population? Strip the planet of its resources? Before anyone could respond, another transmission followed, this time tinged with desperation. "Cease approach. You misunderstand. We meant no harm." It was a startling admission. Just moments ago, these beings had appeared unstoppable, their advanced technology suggesting superiority over humanity. Yet now, faced with the Erebus destroyers, they sounded almost afraid of humans. The realization was surreal, even for those who had spent years working on Project Ascension. Humanity wasn't supposed to be the scary ones. It wasn't supposed to inspire fear in galactic civilizations. And yet, here they were, holding all the cards. With the aliens clearly shaken, humanity seized the opportunity to assert itself. From the lead Erebus destroyer came a single, coordinated signal. Instantly, energy shields activated around each ship, creating a shimmering barrier that enveloped Earth like a protective cocoon. The message was unmistakable: leave now, or face annihilation. There would be no negotiations, no compromises, not until the invaders demonstrated genuine intent to withdraw. For several tense minutes, the standoff continued. The Vorthax ships hovered near the edge of the rift, unwilling to flee entirely but too frightened to advance. Meanwhile, humanity held its collective breath. Would the aliens comply? Or would they call humanity's bluff and attempt to fight back? The answer came when one of the larger alien vessels transmitted another message. "We will depart. But know this: your actions today have consequences beyond your understanding." Though cryptic, the warning carried weight. Clearly, the Vorthax weren't used to being challenged. They were explorers, opportunists, beings who preyed on weaker species, exploiting their vulnerabilities for gain. Earth's display of strength had blindsided them, forcing them to reconsider their strategy. Whether out of fear or respect, they chose to retreat, for now. As the last of the Vorthax ships disappeared into the rift, the glowing tear in the sky began to shrink. Within minutes, it closed entirely, leaving behind only stars and silence. For the first time since the crisis began, people dared to breathe again. Across the planet, cheers erupted as news spread that the immediate threat had passed. Families hugged each other tightly, strangers embraced in the streets, and social media flooded with messages of relief and gratitude. Humanity had survived its first encounter with an alien civilization, and it had done so without firing a single shot. But the victory wasn't without cost. In the hours that followed, questions arose about what had just happened. Who were the Vorthax, really? Why had they targeted Earth, and what did their parting words mean? Most importantly, how many other civilizations might be watching humanity now, intrigued, or perhaps alarmed, by its newfound reputation as a force to be reckoned with? Military leaders and scientists convened immediately to analyze the situation. Data collected during the confrontation revealed fascinating insights about the Vorthax ships. Their design prioritized intimidation over practicality, suggesting they relied more on psychological warfare than brute force. Their weapons systems, while advanced, lacked the precision and range of the Erebus destroyers. This explained why they had hesitated upon encountering humanity's fleet. They hadn't anticipated resistance of such magnitude. Still, there was no room for complacency. The fact that the Vorthax had retreated didn't guarantee peace. Civilizations capable of interstellar travel likely had allies or enemies that could pose future threats. Moreover, the rift itself raised troubling possibilities. Where had it come from? Was it natural or artificially created? Could it reopen at any moment, bringing new dangers to Earth's doorstep? While experts debated these issues, ordinary people grappled with their own emotions. Fear gave way to pride as the reality sank in. Humanity had stood up to an alien race and won. For decades, movies and books had depicted humans as helpless victims in the face of extraterrestrial aggression. Now, those narratives felt outdated. Humanity wasn't weak. It was resilient, resourceful, and determined to protect its home. In the days that followed, celebrations turned into reflection. Governments issued statements praising the efforts of Project Ascension and vowing to strengthen Earth's defenses. Schools incorporated lessons about the event into their curriculums, teaching children about the importance of unity and innovation. Artists painted murals of the Erebus destroyers, immortalizing the moment humanity proved it could hold its ground against the unknown. Yet, amidst the jubilation, a sobering truth lingered. The universe was vast, filled with countless mysteries and countless potential threats. Humanity had taken its first step onto the galactic stage, but it was far from ready to navigate the complexities of interstellar politics. The Vortex may have fled, but others would surely follow. How humanity responded to those encounters would shape not only its future but also its legacy among the stars. For now, though, Earth stood safe, guarded by the towering silhouettes of the Erebus destroyers. They remained in orbit, vigilant and ready, symbols of humanity's courage and ingenuity. Below them, life returned to normal, or as close to normal as it could be after such an extraordinary event. People went back to work. Children resumed playing outside, and the world moved forward, carrying with it the knowledge that Earth was no longer alone. And somewhere, deep within the cosmos, eyes watched and waited. The immediate crisis had passed, but the aftermath of humanity's first encounter with an alien species left a profound mark on the planet. The Vorthax Collective had retreated, their ships vanishing into the mysterious rift that had brought them to Earth. For now the skies were clear and the planet was safe. Yet no one dared to call it victory, not yet. The events of the past few days had shaken humanity to its core, forcing people to confront uncomfortable truths about their place in the universe. The aliens' cryptic warning before leaving, "Your actions today have consequences beyond your understanding," weighed heavily on the minds of leaders and citizens alike. What did it mean? And how would humanity prepare for whatever might come next? In the days following the standoff, governments around the world convened emergency summits to discuss the situation. Never before had so many nations worked together with such urgency and unity. Representatives from every corner of the globe gathered in secure facilities, sharing intelligence, pooling resources, and debating strategies. Military commanders analyzed data collected during the confrontation, piecing together everything they could learn about the Vorthax ships, their technology, and their intentions. Scientists studied the rift itself, trying to determine whether it posed an ongoing threat or if it could reopen unexpectedly. Meanwhile, diplomats wrestled with the question of how, or even if, to communicate further with the Vorthax. Despite the lingering uncertainty, one decision was unanimous. Humanity needed answers. Simply letting the Vorthax disappear without explanation wasn't an option. If they truly represented a larger galactic community, then Earth couldn't afford to remain ignorant of its neighbors. At the same time, caution was paramount. Reaching out too aggressively might provoke retaliation, while appearing weak could invite exploitation. Striking the right balance required careful diplomacy and a willingness to take risks. After much deliberation, humanity decided to extend an olive branch. Through the Erebus destroyer's advanced communication systems, a message was transmitted into deep space. It was simple, concise, and deliberately non-threatening. "We seek understanding. Let us talk." The message included coordinates for a neutral meeting point, an uninhabited asteroid located far from Earth, where negotiations could take place safely. Whether the Vorthax would respond remained to be seen, but the gesture demonstrated humanity's readiness to engage constructively. To everyone's surprise, the Vorthax accepted. Days later, one of their smaller ships arrived at the designated location, accompanied by a single Erebus destroyer. Inside the massive human warship, Representatives from both sides prepared for what would become one of the most historic meetings in Earth's history. Humanity's delegation included scientists, linguists, military officers, and diplomats, each chosen for their expertise and ability to remain calm under pressure. They wore sleek, futuristic uniforms designed to project confidence and professionalism, a small but symbolic nod to humanity's newfound status as a galactic power. When the two groups finally met aboard the Erebus destroyer, the atmosphere was tense. The Vorthax representatives were tall, insectoid creatures with shimmering exoskeletons and multifaceted eyes that seemed to see everything at once. Their voices, translated through advanced AI systems, carried an unsettling resonance. Despite their intimidating appearance, they appeared nervous, even deferential, as they addressed humanity for the first time face to face. "We did not expect resistance," one of the Vorthax admitted after formal introductions were made. "Your species, you are younger than we anticipated, less developed. We assumed conquest would be simple." The admission stunned the human delegates. For centuries, humanity had feared being discovered by more advanced civilizations, imagining scenarios where Earth would be helpless against overwhelming force. To hear that the Vorthax had underestimated them was almost surreal. Still, the revelation raised troubling questions. How many other species shared the Vorthax's assumptions about humanity? And how many others might attempt similar invasions in the future? Over the course of several hours, the two sides exchanged information cautiously. The Vorthax explained that they were part of a loose coalition of civilizations spread across multiple star systems. Their primary goal was expansion, claiming uninhabited planets and exploiting weaker species for resources. While not inherently malevolent, they operated on a principle of opportunism, targeting those who couldn't defend themselves. When they detected signs of intelligent life on Earth, they assumed it would be easy prey. Discovering otherwise had left them shaken and wary. Humanity, in turn, revealed glimpses of its own history, emphasizing its resilience and adaptability. Delegates highlighted humanity's rapid technological progress, its capacity for cooperation, and its determination to protect its home. They also made it clear that Earth would not tolerate further aggression. Should the Vorthax or any other species attempt to invade again, they would face swift and decisive retaliation. By the end of the meeting, a fragile truce was established. The Vorthax agreed to withdraw permanently, marking Earth as off-limits to their kind. In exchange, humanity promised not to pursue retribution or share details of its fleet with other species. Both sides understood that trust would take time to build, but the agreement represented a crucial first step toward coexistence. Back on Earth, news of the treaty sparked mixed reactions. Some celebrated the diplomatic breakthrough, hailing it as proof that humanity could rise to meet challenges on a galactic scale. Others remained skeptical, questioning whether the Vorthax could truly be trusted. Conspiracy theories flourished, with some claiming the aliens had planted spies on Earth during their brief visit. Military forces stayed on high alert, monitoring the skies for any sign of renewed activity. Yet, for all the uncertainty, one thing was undeniable. Humanity had proven itself capable of achieving the impossible. Where once it had gazed at the stars with fear and wonder, it now looked upward with pride and readiness. The age of exploration had begun, but it came with a sobering reminder. In the vastness of the cosmos, survival depended not on luck, but on courage, ingenuity, and the unshakable will to defend one's home. As weeks turned into months, life on Earth slowly returned to normal. Cities rebuilt damaged infrastructure caused by panic during the initial invasion scare. Schools introduced new curricula focused on space science and interstellar diplomacy, preparing future generations for a world connected to the stars. Artists created murals, films, and books inspired by the encounter, capturing the moment humanity stepped onto the galactic stage. But beneath the surface, changes were underway. Governments invested heavily in expanding Project Ascension, constructing additional Erebus destroyers, and developing even more advanced technologies. Space agencies launched probes deeper into the solar system, searching for signs of other civilizations. Private companies raced to establish colonies on Mars and the Moon, driven by the realization that Earth needed backup plans in case of another alien encounter. Meanwhile, rumors circulated about other factions watching Earth closely. Intelligence reports hinted at shadowy organizations within the galaxy, ancient empires far older and more powerful than the Vorthax, who might view humanity's defiance as either a threat or an opportunity. Some speculated that the rift itself was linked to these entities, serving as a gateway to realms humanity couldn't yet comprehend. For now, though, Earth stood ready, not as prey, but as predator. The Erebus destroyers remained in orbit, silent sentinels guarding the planet against whatever might come next. Humanity had taken its first step into the unknown, proving that even the smallest species could rise to meet the greatest challenges. The journey ahead would be fraught with danger, discovery, and difficult choices, but it was a journey humanity was determined to undertake. And somewhere, deep within the cosmos, eyes continued to watch and wait. The truce with the Vorthax marked the beginning of a new chapter for humanity, not just as a species, but as a civilization stepping into the vast unknown of the cosmos. The encounter had revealed Earth's fragility, yet it had also showcased its resilience and ingenuity. For the first time in history, humanity wasn't merely looking up at the stars with awe. It was standing among them, ready to claim its place in the galaxy. But this newfound status came with responsibilities, challenges, and dangers far greater than anyone could have imagined. In the weeks and months following the negotiations, life on Earth began to change in subtle but profound ways. While most people returned to their daily routines, going to work, raising families, pursuing dreams, the knowledge that humanity was no longer alone lingered in the back of everyone's mind. News outlets continued to cover developments related to the Icar, Vorthax, and Project Ascension, sparking debates about humanity's future. Should Earth focus on defense, preparing for potential threats from other alien civilizations? Or should it prioritize exploration, venturing boldly into space to seek allies and resources? Governments around the world wrestled with these questions, balancing public opinion with strategic priorities. Some nations pushed for aggressive expansion, advocating the construction of more Erebus destroyers and the establishment of colonies on Mars and beyond. Others argued for caution, urging investment in diplomacy and scientific research before rushing headlong into interstellar politics. Despite their differences, one thing united them all: the understanding that humanity's survival depended on unity. Divided, Earth was vulnerable. Together, it was unstoppable. As the debate raged on, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to advance humanity's technological capabilities. Breakthroughs poured in at an unprecedented rate, fueled by the urgency of the times. Fusion reactors became smaller and more efficient, enabling spacecraft to travel farther and faster than ever before. Artificial intelligence systems grew smarter, capable of managing complex tasks aboard starships or predicting enemy movements during combat, and medical advancements extended human lifespans, ensuring that explorers could endure long journeys through deep space. But perhaps the most significant development was the creation of the Unity Accord, a global treaty signed by every nation on Earth. Under the Accord, all participating countries agreed to pool resources, share technology, and collaborate on projects related to space exploration and defense. For the first time in recorded history, humanity operated as a single entity, united not by borders or ideologies, but by a common goal: to secure its future among the stars. With the Unity Accord in place, humanity embarked on its most ambitious project yet: the construction of a permanent orbital station called Solace. Designed to serve as both a military stronghold and a hub for scientific research, Solace represented humanity's first step toward establishing a presence beyond Earth. Its massive rings spun slowly in orbit, generating artificial gravity for those living and working aboard. Laboratories bristling with cutting-edge equipment conducted experiments on everything from zero-gravity agriculture to quantum communication. Meanwhile, docking bays housed fleets of advanced starships, ready to launch at a moment's notice. Yet, even as humanity prepared for the future, it couldn't escape the shadows of the past. Rumors circulated about the Vorthax and their mysterious rift. Intelligence reports suggested that the rift hadn't closed completely, that faint traces of energy still lingered in the upper atmosphere, pulsating faintly like a heartbeat. Scientists theorized that it might be a gateway to another dimension or a remnant of ancient technology left behind by a long-forgotten civilization. Whatever the truth, one thing was clear. The rift posed a potential threat and an opportunity. Determined to uncover its secrets, humanity launched a daring mission codenamed Operation Eclipse. A team of elite astronauts, equipped with state-of-the-art probes and sensors, ventured into the remnants of the rift. What they discovered defied imagination. On the other side lay a sprawling network of wormholes connecting distant parts of the galaxy. These cosmic tunnels acted as shortcuts, allowing ships to traverse light years in mere moments. But they weren't natural phenomena. They were artificial, created by someone or something with unimaginable power. The implications were staggering. If humanity could harness this technology, it would revolutionize space travel, making it possible to explore the farthest reaches of the universe. But controlling such immense power carried risks. Who had built the wormhole network, and what would happen if others learned of its existence? As the astronauts transmitted their findings back to Earth, military leaders scrambled to develop strategies for defending the rift while scientists raced to decipher its mechanics. Meanwhile, whispers of other alien civilizations began to surface. Interceptor drones patrolling the edges of the solar system detected strange signals emanating from nearby star systems. Some were faint and fragmented, suggesting attempts at communication. Others were sharp and deliberate, almost like warnings. Humanity's leaders debated whether to respond, knowing that reaching out could invite danger, but staying silent might mean missing opportunities for alliances. One signal, however, stood out from the rest. It originated from a planet orbiting Proxima Centauri, Earth's closest stellar neighbor. Unlike the chaotic transmissions picked up elsewhere, this message was structured and repetitive, containing patterns that matched mathematical constants, like pi and the Fibonacci sequence. Linguists and cryptographers worked around the clock to decode it, eventually piecing together fragments of meaning. The message read, "We see you. We are waiting." The revelation sent shockwaves through the scientific community. Whoever or whatever had sent the message knew about humanity. They had been watching quietly, observing Earth's rise from primitive beginnings to its current position as a galactic contender. Were they friends or foes? Allies or adversaries? No one could say for sure, but one thing was certain: humanity needed to prepare for contact. As preparations got underway, ordinary people grappled with the enormity of what was happening. Philosophers pondered humanity's moral obligations in the face of extraterrestrial life. Artists depicted visions of alien worlds and cultures, imagining what encounters might look like. Children dreamed of becoming astronauts or diplomats, eager to play a role in shaping Earth's destiny. Even skeptics found themselves drawn into conversations about the possibilities awaiting humanity beyond the stars. Yet, amidst the excitement, a sense of unease lingered. Not all aliens would be like the Vorthax, hesitant and cautious when confronted with resistance. Some might view humanity as a rival, determined to crush it before it grew too powerful. Others might see Earth as a resource-rich prize, ripe for exploitation. Humanity's leaders knew that maintaining peace required strength and wisdom. To ensure readiness, the Erebus destroyers remained vigilant, patrolling the skies and scanning for threats. Additional warships joined the fleet, each more advanced than the last. Training programs for pilots and crew members intensified, emphasizing teamwork and adaptability. Simulations mimicked every conceivable scenario, from dogfights with alien fighters to boarding actions aboard hostile vessels. Every member of humanity's defense force understood the stakes. Failure meant extinction. Despite the challenges, hope burned brightly in the hearts of billions. Humanity had faced its greatest test and emerged stronger than ever. It had proven that even the smallest species could rise to meet the greatest challenges. Now, as it stood on the brink of a new era, it carried with it lessons forged in fire and determination, courage in the face of fear, innovation in the face of adversity, and unity in the face of division. As the years passed, humanity ventured deeper into space, exploring uncharted territories and forging tentative alliances with benevolent alien species. Colonies sprang up on distant moons and planets, each a testament to humanity's perseverance and vision. The rift, once a source of terror, became a symbol of possibility, a doorway to infinite horizons. And so, Earth entered the galactic stage, not as a passive observer, but as an active participant. Its journey would be fraught with trials and triumphs, setbacks and breakthroughs. But one thing was undeniable. Humanity had claimed its place among the stars, and it was here to stay.